It's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
All right, so I used to have a job making furniture out of plants.
It was a leafy business. It was a rooty business.
I tell you, it was no bed of roses.
No bed of roses. Okay.
This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pests like insects, wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com. So let's talk about Hügelkultur.
Okay.
So Hügelkultur is a German word. It translates basically as hill culture or mound culture. And so Hügelkultur is not a quick thing necessarily, and it's not temporary. So it's not like a pop-up raised bed or growing in 5-gallon buckets. It is a permaculture. Permaculture just basically means like permanent growing, permanent structure, whatever.
Fun fact: the first term meaning hill culture or mound culture was published in German gardening books in 1962.
Okay, fun fact.
And it's also Eastern Europe as well, not just the Germans. It's kind of throughout that area.
So some benefits to this is...
First of all, what is it? For people who don't have a visualization, let's draw a picture for them.
We should probably talk about that. So basically, it's buried logs and other woody debris buried into the soil, put into the soil to create like a raised garden beds of sorts. But the benefits is they have good water retention, good nutrient richness, and they foster a thriving soil ecosystem. So
as the wood, the log breaks down, decomposes, it releases nutrients, it releases vitamins and minerals, as well as becomes basically a sponge, and then holds moisture as the soil needs. It will wick the moisture out of the wood into the soil, and these mounds can be 2 foot tall or 25 foot tall, and then peak and then come down the other side. There is no quote unquote measurements that this has got to be a Hügelkultur. It can be any size of a mound.
It can also be trenched. So say you want to dig a trench and do this, you can do that too.
So you could kind of do that maybe in a low-lying area if you wanted to kind of create a swell, a little wetland, something that you have vegetation that really likes water or growing in water.
Yeah,
you can do that too.
Why not? So it's a trench or mound, and it's filled with layers of logs, branches, leaves, other organic matter, and then it's topped with the soil, compost, mulch, whatever you want to call it. So it is permanent because as it breaks down,
there's a lot of work to go in to build this, especially if you're going 20 feet high on both sides.
That's very high.
And with that, you're going to add multiple logs and build, an internal structure basically, and put 2 or 3 feet of dirt on the outside of that log or those logs on that hill. And now gardeners will do this as well. They will take and trench or the bottom of like a raised bed or an elevated raised bed, 24 or 36 inches high. They'll throw a lot of leaf debris or stumps and logs in the bottom to take up that empty space. In turn, that is breaking down and holding moisture in a sense of a Hügelkultur concept.
Break it down. Yeah. So, it's a way to... so it decomposes over time, and the water, as you mentioned, acts like a sponge, or the decaying wood acts like a sponge, retains the moisture, and then it reduces the need for frequent watering over time. So again, this is something that...
Self-sustainable.
It's self-sustainable, and it's, again, not something that's going to happen the first season or the sixth season. It takes a little bit of time. But as it decomposes, it adds to the soil, and a lot of people like this because it's self-sustaining. It offers a longer growing season, and it's ideal for various plants. So it's not like you can only plant certain things. You can plant a wide variety. Right.
However much you want to climb up the hill or reach to whatever elevation, you can grow. Rose bushes, berry bushes, fruit trees, whatever.
I think that if I were to do Hügelkultur, I would grow something that is, a perennial, some sort of edible perennial, like you said, berries.
Asparagus.
Or asparagus. Something, because it's constantly being fed,
Uh-huh.
and then it eliminates a lot of like need for watering. So that way, it's like, why not grow something that's also going to grow for a long time?
It does the work for you.
Yeah.
It works for you. People will put like straw mulch on the outer portions of it, and you know, again, any size, any shape. It's any size, but the shape has got to be like triangular. If you're looking at it from the end point, up, down, and a rounded point on the top.
So one thing to keep in mind is what kind of wood should you use.
Yes.
If you have wood that's already rotting,
Boom.
that's perfect for Hügelkultur. So if you're like, I got this pile in my back 40 that's rotting wood, you could put that to use. There's a few things what types of wood you want to avoid. Any sort of treated wood, cedar, and then anything that's allelopathic or toxic, like black cherry and black walnut, because black cherry and black walnut both put juglong into the soil, and you don't want that because
a natural protection chemical that the tree releases in order to protect itself from encroachment of other plant life.
So you don't want to add to the problem. Yeah, basically. You want to make sure that you're having success.
Now, you can grow vegetables in a Hügelkultur mound. Pumpkins, cucumbers, anything you want. There's no limitations.
The other thing to keep in mind, depending on the size of the log, it will eventually kind of sink down. So if you start with, you're like, I want this to be, this certain height and have this hill-looking situation, it's not necessarily going to look like that type of hill. Like if you're trying to build a natural berm perimeter or something like that, it's going to sink down. So it's just over time.
Right. Now, these big Hügelkulturs, this is not something that typically you're going to do with a shovel and a wheelbarrow. When these, and you can go online and look, they are bringing in very large industrial construction equipment, front loaders and bulldozers to create this one-time deal in order to create a Hügelkultur of these substantial mounds. And there's certain people that will do 7, 8, 10 of these because they have a very large open area, and they bring in the construction equipment to do this and to do it right the first time. Most of our listeners, most of you guys are not going to go to that extreme, and if you do, good for you. But you can do this on a very small scale in the backyard to create whatever size you need or want to experiment with.
I think that if you feel like you are at a standstill with gardening and you want to try something new or different, and you're like, I've already tried these new vegetables, I've tried these new flowers, I need something to try, I would say try Hügelkultur.
Kind of like a set it, forget it deal.
Yeah, and you could also...
it's not necessarily, you don't have to ever water.
Right. So you can also spend some time doing some research. You can spend some time picking, whatever plants you want to invest in and put into this Hügelkultur. So it's a good little project if you feel like I need something different to garden or whatever. I think that's a kind of a fun project. Just like maybe making a specific garden situation. Like I have a little like goth garden, which is dark plants, all different dark plants. So yeah, it can kind of rejuvenate your interest in gardening.
Also, you use topsoil, grass clippings, small twigs, branches, large logs, more grass clippings, leaf debris. That's kind of the consensus of...
Like you layer it.
You layer it, yeah. You layer it, and it based on the size of it, determines the longevity of which this will stay relatively intact, meaning it's not going to implode on itself as the logs and the leaf debris and the wood material biodegrades.
Right, and kind of from what I understand is there's no wrong way to do this aside from using the incorrect type of wood, and maybe not being thoughtful about which plants you plant there, but you can always experiment. But it's like, you can pile up logs, you can pile up, as Joey mentioned, twigs, leaves, whatever.
Potentially decades this will last.
Yeah. So it's not like you're going to mess it up necessarily, as long as you don't use something like treated wood or cedar or the black walnut black cherry. Yeah. So just keep that in mind.
Also, if you're going to do this and you're planning on doing this and you're like in the country and nobody's around, have at it. We have to say it. if you are going to do this in a residential area, be sure you talk and make sure you do the right coding, get the right permits.
Especially if you're like in an HOA or something. Yeah. Because you don't know what upset people. I mean, if you're
everything upsets an HOA.
Yeah. Or you just don't tell anybody what you're doing. You start doing this at midnight and
only do things at night. Well, Walton's Inc. has some things in which you can utilize that you don't have to do at midnight.
Right. So we are brought to you today by Walton's Inc. Listen,
insert your joke there.
Right. We know you care about where your food comes from, canning, preserving, etc. But what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. And then you can also visit meatgistics.com. They have an informational site to help you make the best finished product. They have a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, and more to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50. That's GROW50 to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.